So before I talk about the tapes, a little bit about me. I collect VHS tapes. 2 of the 3 bedrooms in my house are dedicated to housing my collection of VHS tapes. Most of my collection consists of rare promotional material, commercials that were never aired for whatever reason, and private individuals' home movies. Most of the collection came from a decade of going to yard sales on a weekly basis and buying every VHS tape in the Tri-County area when my sight lays on them. Hey, most people's addictions cost more than a box of 50 for $1, and it's much safer than heroin or tobacco, most of the time at least. The goal of this, I guess, is to find those diamonds in the rough. You would not believe how boring a children's birthday party is until you've watched the 500th different one. Every once in a while you find something fascinating. If you've ever seen clips of the RV guy cursing like a sailor, I probably saw the tape before you. This is because the people like me are in a very tight-knit community and we trade tapes whenever they are interesting. Most of us, however, tend not to post them on the internet because what kind of dick puts some octogenarian sex tape on YouTube? Besides that, I don't want to get sued. Yes, I'll admit, it's a bit perverse, but the joy of finding something special and unique is the most intoxicating thing you can imagine. No drug I ever tried in my youth compares to stuffing a non-labeled VHS in the player and seeing something that possibly no one has ever actually watched. But I'm rambling, of course. You probably want to know about the VHS, the weird tapes. There are 2 different levels of weird when it comes to the tapes. The first level is what I call WTF. This is the stuff where you watch it, laugh nervously, then ask yourself why someone would do that. Someone in 1998 taping their child's violin recital, and hidden in the crowd you can see a soccer mom perform oral sex on her husband in the presumed darkness of the recital hall. It's dark and you can't see much detail, but that is definitely what it is. A small dog playing in a large backyard until a bald eagle attempts to pick up the dog. The person sets the camera down in such a way that the lens shows the presumed owner of the dog running and punching a bald eagle just half a second after it picks up his dog. Whenever I feel bad about humanity, I put in that video. The second level of weird is the truly unexplainable, stuff that makes no logical sense and that people would call fake after watching it the first time. I'm currently in possession of a video of, get this, a children's birthday party where a child falls through the freaking floor. Just falls through the goddamn floor. The rest of the little kids freak the fuck out until whoever was presumably taping the goddamn impossible dropped the camera and the tape goes to static for the rest of the tape. And before you say it, yes, I had it checked. The tape hasn't been edited and it was originally filmed in 1988 according to the timestamp. No CGI, no practical effects, nothing. Just a kid phasing through the goddamn floor. No other context than party hats, a plain house, and colored balloons on the ceiling of the kitchen. The whole thing happens in 15 seconds. There is nothing else on the tape. To be fair, there aren't many of these impossible tapes. There are plenty of amateur filmmakers making obvious fake tapes, and that's what most of those types are, but every once in a while you come across something unique, something special, something strange. A picnic in a park. The timestamp is from 1993, and there's a small child and her father sitting on a blanket. An actual wicker picnic basket sits next to them. You can hear a woman's voice from directly behind the camera, which is sitting next to the basket. She makes some remark about how cute she is, and the man reaches over and opens the basket. He jumps back in obvious terror just before a snake strikes from the basket. The woman shouts, and both adults and baby run off camera. The snake, after about 2 minutes, slithers out of the basket. After another 5 minutes, 2 more snakes slither out, then another. Snakes continue to slither out of the basket and slither and hiss off screen for another 3.5 hours. The basket, blanket, and camera remain undisturbed the entire time, besides the endless parade of snakes coming out of the basket. I've watched it 3 times all the way through, and I've counted 89 different snakes. I recognized about 5 different species. Unless this was ridiculous ridiculously good practical effects, I don't see how this could be faked. And who would want to fake this anyway? It's just so weird. There's only one tape that's actually scared me. I didn't find the damn thing anywhere. It was in my mailbox one fateful Friday morning. I was expecting some tapes from a friend of mine in Boston, so I didn't even think to check the manila envelope it came in because I just thought it was one of the several that had come that day. I picked one of them at random and tore the envelope, and there was an unlabeled tape inside. I found this weird at the time since my buddy labeled anything he found meticulously, but whatever. The tape went into the player. It was blank for the first 5 minutes, and I was about to pop it out when a timestamp in a black screen appeared. The timestamp is 1986. At first, it was just a black screen, then a light, a candle to be more precise, and several more following the first. A young woman was lighting several candles in a pattern in a faint pentagram with several fuzzy-looking symbols on the floor. Unfortunately, the tape is of poor quality, and I can't really make out anything behind that. It's a bunch of symbols written in chalk on the ground. After lighting the candles, the woman steps inside the pentagram and sits down facing the camera. Her features are hard to make out, but she's wearing what looks like a black Iron Maiden t-shirt and jeans. She looks directly at the camera for about 30 seconds in silence. She breaks the silence by chanting something very quietly in what I can only guess is Latin. She chants for about 5 minutes before the camera shakes. The girl seems to notice the shaking and looks a bit frightened before all the candles snuff out simultaneously. A bit frightening, but nothing worse than seeing the Blair Witch for the first time. The tape stays black for about a minute before the candles all simultaneously light again and the girl is visible. Her head is leaning forward to where her hair is covering her face. Nothing happens. Nothing happens some more, and another amateur filmmaker, great. After another couple of minutes pass with nothing happening and I go to turn off the player, the girl's hand in the video suddenly springs to life and reaches toward my finger that's about to press the stop button. This sudden movement startles me and I move back. The girl in the video looks around like she's waking up. She attempts to stand up from the circle and hits her head on the edge of the frame. She appears to shout in pain, but there's no sound. She sits back down and rubs her head where it presumably hit the edge of the frame. She looks at me in what looks like fright and pushes at the edge of the frame. Her hand doesn't budge 1 inch and neither does the frame. She's screaming at this point. She's looking around her and at me, directly into my eyes. She's saying something, but I can't make out anything. To test it, I start reaching towards the stop button again, and she reaches her hands towards my finger's direction in obvious distress. I do this 3 more times, and she matches my movement every time. She's crying. I'm a coward, and I closed my eyes and pressed the stop button. I haven't watched the tape since. I have the packaging and it wasn't from my friend in Boston. He knows nothing about it. The torn envelope only has my name and address on it. No postmarks, no stamps, no stickers, just my name and address. I did take a second look at the tape and it isn't completely unlabeled. On the black surface of the tape there is something written in glossy black Sharpie, barely visible except when light is reflecting off it. One word. Cheryl. Is she the woman in the tape? Is she actually in the tape? What the hell is going on? This happened about 2 weeks ago and I'm out of ideas. I wouldn't have mentioned it or try to look for answers on the internet about it, but something came in the mail yesterday. A plain manila envelope with just my name and address on it with a VHS size bulge in it. What should I do?